Welcome to Cheryl K's Cooking Diaries, old-fashioned Southern cooking. Lordy have mercy. Hey guys, welcome back to Cheryl K's Cooking Diaries. Today we're going to make buttermilk cornbread in an iron skillet. And I have been cooking a chuck beef roast today in the crock pot since this morning. And it is done and it is delicious. That is, I will have a video on the chuck roast that I'll be posting. But we've got to have some of that buttermilk cornbread to go with our roast, right? You just got to have that or that meal is not complete. So anyway, guys, let me get you down here and I'm going to show you everything that goes into this. So give me just a minute. Okay, guys, let me show you everything that I put into my homemade buttermilk cornbread. All right. First of all, you're going to need you an iron skillet. If you don't have an iron skillet, you can use whatever that you would normally use fix cornbread in. But I will tell you this, really, cornbread is so good in an iron skillet. If you haven't got you an iron skillet or you've never cooked in one, try to get you an iron skillet because I'm going to tell you, I think you'd really like it. I know I love my iron skillets. I used to use non-stick cookware all the time. And then when I started buying my iron, the non-stick got put back in a corner somewhere, and I'll tell you what, I never use them anymore except maybe a pot to boil potatoes or something like that in. I'm always using my iron, and that's all I use now, y'all. You'll need your oven preheated to 450 degrees. You are going to need 1.5 cups of white lily self-rising flour. If you don't use white lily, that's fine. Y'all just use what you like. You are going to need 1.5 cups of the Martha White buttermilk cornmeal. Now, I use the Martha White because I can't get the white lily cornmeal. I ain't been able to find it anywhere around here. I'm going to tell y'all, I love Martha White as well. We're going to use their cornmeal, and both of these together, they mix very well together. So, you are going to need just some buttermilk. If you don't have any, you can just use regular milk. I've done it many times when I've been out of buttermilk. And guys, I do use a little bit of regular milk. I don't use all buttermilk in my cornbread because it makes it so moist and it takes us so long to get done. So I don't ever go that route anymore. So I just kind of do half and half, right? I guess, kind of half and half. So, but anyway, you're going to need 1 egg, and this is a extra large egg. And you're going to need a little bit of bacon grease. That's what I use in my skillet. And I put very little bit into my mixture, but nothing big. So, that's all you're going to need to make this cornbread, and it's very simple and easy to throw together, y'all. So anyway, let me get you down here, let me get some of this stuff organized, and we'll get this in here and get this in the oven. So give me just a minute. But what you want to do here first is you want to take your iron skillet, and like I said, make sure your iron skillet is seasoned very well. When they shimmer like that in the light, that's a good sign that they are seasoned very good, okay? What I do is, before I do anything, I take a little bit of the bacon grease. I store my bacon grease in a Smucker's jam jar, or I have a little grease container over there I use sometimes that has it in it as well. All right, y'all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir this up a little bit because you know how bacon grease, y'all store bacon grease. You know how bacon grease can be. So I'm going to stir this together. Now, by the way, this is bacon and sausage grease together. I just put mine together. I don't even worry about it. So, all right, stir that stuff up good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drizzle a little bit of this down the pan. I mean, you want your pan to have some grease in there, guys. Okay? Because you want that crispy, crunchy cornbread. That's what I'm after. So what I do, and some of y'all may think it's too much. Some of y'all may think I don't use enough. But this is how I do mine. I just drizzle some oil in there, some bacon grease in there rather, whatever you want to call it. And if it's too much, I'll get some of it out here in a little bit. It's not a big deal. What I do is I take my bacon grease, usually it's warm when I do this, and I just kind of swirl it around in my pan like this, because you want to get this whole pan for skillet oiled with this bacon grease, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this over here to the side for just a minute, okay, on my stove. My stove's good and warm, and it's ready to go. But what I'm going to do is right before we get ready to put our cornbread mix into our iron skillet, we are going to put this in the oven, and we're going to heat this up pretty good, because that is how you get those crunchy edges around your cornbread, is when you heat your iron skillet up first in the oven, then you bring it out, then you pour your mix in here. That's how you achieve those crunchy edges. I'll tell you, my husband loves those edges on cornbread, so that's why I always make mine, and I like them as well. So all right, so what I'll do is I take me a batter bowl, okay? If you don't have a batter bowl, use whatever you do have, okay? Anything will work for this, right? Okay, so we're going to take, let me move this egg out of the way so I don't break it, because I sure will. Kind of got my crock pot over here too, so I'm a little bit cramped here in space, guys, so bear with me. Alrighty, so we're going to get 1.5 cups of self-rising flour, like I told you, alright? And I usually, I was taking a tablespoon and dipping my flour out because it makes it a little dense. I'm going to tell you the truth. I found that that's not always the case, so I don't even worry about it anymore. I just dip them in there. I've done that all since I've been cooking. I dip these in here until it ain't been long ago that I was sort of dipping it out with the spoon until I found out that it's really not too necessary that you do that. So I just do it the way I always done it and the way I taught to do it. Okay. All right, here goes the first cup, and I think instead of using this big scoop of a measuring cup, because it's pretty good size in those bags, let me rinse my hands, because that big one there is hard to handle sometimes in these flour and cornmeal bags. But what I should have done was actually sifted that, but it didn't seem to be too lumpy, so that's all right. I think it'll be okay for this batch anyway. But most time, I like to sift my flour before I put it in there. All right, so here's a 1/2 cup. I think I can get a half cup more out of this. I'm hoping I can. And I'm just, what I do is when I get it, I just make sure it's even all over my cup. Take my hand, I just level it off. I ain't gonna worry about it. Okay, and then we're gonna put a 1/2 cup more of the self-rising flour in there. Kind of wipe my flour mess up, because I sure make one. I'll tell you what, if I don't wipe it up, it'd be all over me, my floor, and everything else. Okay, so now we got our 1.5 cups of flour. Now we're just going to need a 1.5 cups cornmeal, right? So we're going to open that up. And if y'all ain't never used White Lily, or even if you do use White Lily and don't use the cornmeal, Martha White cornmeal, I'm telling you, if you use these two together, the White Lily and the Martha White, man, they're a perfect mix. I'm telling you, they do well together. All right, we're going to do 1/2 cup measurements, because it is easier to do the 1/2 cup measurements than using that big one. So we're just going to start. First one, here's 1/2 cup. We'll get another one. That makes 2. Y'all probably like to see this, wouldn't you? All right, and then this right here will be a 1/2, so it'll be 1.5 cups. That's going to be it. Okay, 1/2 flour, 1.5 cups cornmeal is what we got. Okay, we're going to take no, I'm sorry guys, I'm about to say it, our egg. We're not going to take our egg just yet. We're going to go back to the bacon grease, okay? And what we're going to do, it should be stirred up enough. We're just going to drizzle a little bit of this into our flour and our cornmeal. And the reason I do this is because it does make it really moist, okay? But this is the only time that normally you'll ever see me use bacon and sausage grease, okay? All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to put our 1 extra large egg in here, okay? And then I'm going to get a, you don't want to use a whisk, so I'm going to get me a tablespoon, and we're going to start stirring this together with that. I'm going to kind of break my egg up a little bit there. And we're going to stir this bacon grease and this egg in first. Okay, you want to do that first. And that way it's all stirred in good with your flour and your meal. And get down in there in the bottom of that bowl too. I kind of just toss mine, but I'm going to go over to the rubber spatula, guys. So all I'm going to do here is we're just going to stir this mixture in, okay? That's all we're going to do. Making sure that we get all this mixed in good. And all you want to try to do with this is just fold this mix in together. Your egg and a little bit of your bacon grease with your flour and your meal. Just fold that in good until you get it all blended in there, okay? That's all you got to do with this part. Alrighty, I think that's good enough. Now we can move on. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get our buttermilk. Now, guys, I want me to tell you how much of this to put in here. Because I've made this for so long that I know just by looking at it how much to pour in here. So it does get a little challenging for me to tell you exact amount. So I'll show you the consistency that you want when I get all this in here, okay? But we're going to start with the buttermilk first. So we're going to shake this up. And if y'all got any buttermilk that's got a date on it that's old or something like that, do not be afraid to use that. I mean, I've used buttermilk that's been a month old before, and it's been just fine. I mean, there's been nothing wrong with it. And but you got to remember, you really have to shake that up. But mine right now is a July the 3rd, but it's just fine. So, and when you smell your buttermilk, you'll be able to tell if it's bad or not. Trust me, it's going to let you know. So, this ain't too far past the expiration date. So, alrighty, so let's go ahead and put some buttermilk in here, y'all. So I'm just going to pour what I think. Just kind of wet the top of your cornmeal and your flour really good. Cover it. That's what you want to do with your buttermilk. Okay. I'm going to stir this buttermilk in with a smaller little spatula. So just stir your buttermilk in once you get everything covered. As you've seen, I poured it all over the top of my flour and my meal. Just stir that in slowly. You don't want to flip any out anywhere. Okay, now as you can see and tell, this is not going to be enough, okay? So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to add some white milk because we added quite a bit of buttermilk. And like I said, I don't like to add a big bunch. And plus, we've got some on the bottom here we are going to have to get blended in here. So that is not near enough, okay? But what I am going to do, I'm going to kind of pull this back here where there's some dry down there. I am going to pour just a little more buttermilk in like that. And that'll be it. No more buttermilk will I be using for this. So just stir that in, and if you see some dry down in there, pour you a little more buttermilk down in there. Because that will help you stir that in as you go. It'll be so rough to try to grab it, but you're still going to pull it out there. So, and kind of fold it. So now we're going to have to add some milk. Now, you want to be careful with your milk because you can get this really, really thin real quick, okay? So let me shake my milk, make sure my lid's on good. I always shake that up too as well because milk can settle too. Not as bad as buttermilk, but it can. All right, so just pour you some milk in there. Let me see if I can do this where y'all can see better in the light. So just pour you some milk in there, just drizzle it in and cover it a little bit on the top. You don't have to cover it completely. Just about like that. Wet it on top a little bit. You don't have to do it as much as you did the buttermilk though, okay? Because buttermilk's thicker. So I probably should have got a tablespoon to stir this with. Alright, so let's stir all this in together and let's see what we got. Oops, I told you I'd get it on the floor or something, or me, or... And make sure, guys, when you stir your cornbread mix in, make sure you get to the bottom of your bowl, because sometimes flour pockets can get down in there and get stuck, and you won't know about it until you pour it. And then you're like, oh no, now what? So take you the rubber spatula like I got, and I just kind of dig down in the bowl as I turn it, kind of like that, just doing that motion to get what might be on the bottom. Now, let's see here what we got with this. And you're not going to get all the lumps out. You ain't going to do it. I mean, that's just the way cornbread is. You're not going to get all the lumps out. I try to stir mine in pretty good, though, but you just can't get all them lumps. This is too thick, so we still want to add a little bit more regular milk, okay? No more buttermilk, because we've got plenty of buttermilk in there now. Okay, so let's add a little bit more milk. Just a little bit. A couple tablespoons, something like that to it. Alrighty. I think we're about to get it where we need it, y'all. So, with cornbread, my cornbread anyway, I should say, you want your batter to be at a pouring consistency. But now, you don't want it to be so thin that, how do I say it, where it's almost like water when you pour it. You don't want it that thin. You want your consistency of your cornbread to basically kind of be like pancake batter. That would be an easy one to explain to you, is the pancake batter. You want it to be about the consistency of pancake batter when you pour this. So let me show you here, and let me see if this is going to be right where it needs to be. I think it could use just a tad more milk. Not much though, y'all. I mean, we're not going to want to add too much more to this, because we'll make it too runny then. Just a couple little splashes. Not much though. Alright, we'll stir that in. And the more you make this like this, the more you'll get used to knowing how much to put in your flour and your cornmeal. Trust me, you will. It takes, it just takes practice making these kinds of things, like it does with biscuits. I mean, it took me a while to learn how to make a biscuit. So, you just have to practice with stuff like this. And so the old saying goes, practice makes perfect, right? Well, I'm going to tell you, mine ain't perfect every time. But I've got to where now I know exactly how to make it, so. And I know it's easy for me, because a lot of you, maybe some of you, that's not as easy for. So I get that, and I can understand. Okay, we've got that mixed the best we're going to get it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my skillet in the oven, and we're going to get that preheated right away, because we're going to need it to pour this in here. You don't want your cornbread mix to sit for very long, because if you do that, you're going to have to add more milk. It will thicken up, y'all. It really will, I'm telling you. I've had it happen to me before. So, let me put my skillet in the oven. I'll see how much grease this is going to make when I pull it out there. And if I think it's about right, then what we'll do, we're going to go ahead and get this in there so we can get our cornbread in there. So, let that heat up for a couple minutes, and I'll be right back, and we'll get this poured in there. Okay, guys, here's our skillet, and it is pretty hot. It don't have to be super duper hot, but it is hot. So, that's plenty of grease that's in there. Okay, you just want it coated pretty good. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to pour this cornbread in. Like I said, it's at a pouring consistency, okay? We'll just pour right out, as you'll see. So here we go. We're going to pour it in there. I might have should have thinned it down just a little more, but it'll be alright. Get all that out. Don't want to leave none of that good stuff in there, that's for sure, because it is good, guys. Especially with the big roast potatoes and carrots. It'll be delicious. My husband can't wait. And as you see, it's kind of curling up on the sides. And that will happen because your skillet's hot. And it's basically pre-cooking some of the edges on your cornbread here. And that's what helps make it, your cornbread edges crunchy. So if y'all didn't know that, thought I'd share. So let's get this kind of leveled out here a little bit. Kind of roll that grease across the top, and it is hot. I better use my mitten. So see there, y'all, that grease in there, that bacon grease and sausage grease in there, and see how those edges are rolling up there? Kind of neat how that does that. So anyway, y'all, I'm going to put this in, and then when this comes out, it don't take it too long. So, because it is going to be on 450 degrees. So when this comes out, I'll show y'all what it looks like. So I'll be back shortly. So light, so crunchy, and so good. There's nothing no better than buttermilk cornbread in an iron skillet. So delicious. Guys, the cornbread is done. It's out of the oven. Let me get my little ice knife. I'm going to go around the edges of this. And it took around about 25 minutes. And that's on 450. It will get done a lot quicker on 450. But it still does just as good a job as 400. And it tastes just as good. And as you can see, it didn't stick at all. And that's what you want. But I always kind of go around mine just a couple of times just to make sure. And it's doing really good how I want it. Look at this, y'all. Don't this look good? Check that out. How puffy that got. See how the edges are crispy and brown. But it's not overdone. It's just right. It's going to be delicious. Okay. Now, what I usually do here is I take a platter or some kind of plate. Okay. And I'm going to flip this out. Now, listen, guys. If y'all's never done this before, and I'm sure a lot of you have, if you ain't never done it before, though, wait till your cornbread cools down before you flip it, because you got a good chance of burning yourself. And I got a good chance of burning myself as well. But I have done it a while, so I'm a little more used to it. So what I do is I take my bread, okay, set it down over here. Let me change my hands here. And let me get another towel. I've got another little hand mitten somewhere here. Let's see. I'll just use this. This will work for now. Okay? What I'm going to do, I'll put my mitten back on. Alright, so what I do is I take my platter, put my cornbread back on my cooling rack. I don't know, I might have to use an actual plate for this because it may not fit. No, I think I'd be okay. Put your a plate, on top of your cornbread here. Now and just be careful when doing this. Hold on to the bottom of your plate. Get you a thick oven mitt of some kind. I don't recommend you trying to do it with this or some kind of something like a hand towel or washcloth or something. Don't do it with that, y'all, because you'll burn yourself up. These skillets get super, super hot, okay? So all you got to do is hold on to this plate and just keep a hold of it the whole time you're flipping this, all right? So all you got to do is flip it, set it down on your rack or whatever you're using. Okay, lift up, and that's it. So I'm going to put my skillet back into my oven, and that's how that is done. And look at there, guys. Look how pretty that is. Ain't that a pretty pone of cornbread? It's a pretty pone of buttermilk cornbread, and my husband, he's going to cut it. He always likes to cut the cornbread. So I'm going to have him cut this, and I'll show y'all what it looks like inside. But it is so good. I'm telling y'all, it is. It is so good. And I like cornbread sometimes, just like for a late night snack or something. I like to just get me a little piece of cornbread off and throw it in a bowl and put a little milk over it and have some cornbread and milk. And that's good as well. So, this is going to be good with that beef chuck roast, carrots, onion, and potatoes. My husband, he's going to cut this cornbread. And then I'll show you what it looks like inside, and we can be done with this, y'all. So I'll be back here in just a minute. As my husband's cutting cornbread, and when he gets done here, I'll show you what this looks like inside. Oh my lordy, it looks really good. It's thick and it's crunchy around the edges. It's going to be good with this roast. I know that for sure.
Sharp knife makes all the difference.
Yes, it does. I agree. Your knife makes a world of difference, y'all. When you go to cut something, if you got a good sharp knife, That makes a world of difference when you're cutting something up. So he got it cut, and I'll show you what it looks like, and it's just a steaming away. So here it is, y'all. If I can kind of pull these out or back maybe, and let's see here. Let's do it this way.
Butter.
Woo, look at there, look at there. Doesn't that look delicious? Brown and crunchy. All right. And we'll put it back together, but anyway, y'all, I hope you've enjoyed this video. And my husband's dying to get a piece. So anyway, if you don't mind, go to Cheryl K's Cooking Diaries and like and follow and share my page. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you don't mind to go to my YouTube channel and like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. So anyway, y'all, I hope y'all stay safe. And listen, always remember to keep God in your heart and God in your life. Bye. I hope y'all have enjoyed this recipe. And as always, thanks for watching.